All right, so we are continuing to read The Black Cat by Edgar Allan Poe. And while we are reading, we are working to determine a theme or central idea of the text and analyze its development over the course of the text. This includes the theme's relationship to characters, setting, and plot. And we are also working on providing an objective summary of the text. As you guys know, we have been highlighting unknown words. We have also been highlighting connections to the Telltale Heart. We've been providing our objective summaries on the right-hand side. And at this point today, we're going to start talking about potential themes that we're noticing in the text. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll down to where we left off yesterday. Okay. So we are at this paragraph on page 4 that starts off saying, "In the meantime." So yesterday we left off with our narrator. He just cut out the eye of his cat Pluto, and then he started to feel guilty about doing that. So we're going to continue on. In the meantime, the cat slowly recovered. The socket of the lost eye presented, it is true, a frightful appearance, but he no longer appeared to suffer any pain. He went about the house as usual, but as might be expected, fled in extreme terror at my approach. I had so much of my old heart left as to be at first grieved by this evident dislike on the part of a creature which had once so loved me. But this feeling soon gave place to irritation. And then came, as if to my final and irrevocable overthrow, the spirit of perverseness. Of this spirit, philosophy takes no account. Yet I am not more sure that my soul lives than I am that perverseness is one of the primitive impulses of the human heart, one of the indivisible primary faculties or sentiments which give direction to the character of man. Who has not 100 times found himself committing a vile or a stupid action for no other reason than because he knows he should not? Have we not a perpetual inclination in the teeth of our best judgment to violate that which is law merely because we understand it to be such? This spirit of perverseness, I say, came to my final overthrow. It was this unfathomable longing of the soul to vex itself, to offer violence to its own nature, to do wrong for the wrong's sake only, that urged me to continue, and finally to consummate the injury I had inflicted upon the unoffending brute. One morning, in cold blood, I slipped a noose about its neck and hung it to the limb of a tree, hung it with the tears streaming from my eyes, and with the bitterest remorse at my heart, hung it because I knew that it had loved me, and because I felt it had given me no reason of offense, hung it because I knew that in so doing I was committing a sin, a deadly sin that would so jeopardize my immortal soul as to place it, if such a thing were possible, even beyond the reach of the infinite mercy of the most merciful and most terrible God. What did you highlight in that paragraph for words that we didn't know?
This is Nkosi, and I highlighted perverseness.
Thank you, Nkosi.
This is Anjali, and I highlighted consummate.
Okay.
This is Nicholas, and I highlighted Vex.
Vex. All right, so let's go ahead and define those on the side. Does anyone have an inference as to what they think perverseness may mean? So perverseness is unacceptable, cruel, or evil behavior. And before we go on to the next paragraph, I'm going to go down here. What claim is our narrator making when he says this sentence about who has not 100 times found himself committing a vile or stupid action for no other reason than because he knows he should not? What is his claim when he's talking about humans' need for perverseness?
This is Anjali, and I think he was talking about how, like, I guess people sometimes like to do things just because they're not supposed to do them, like not following the rules just because they're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, it's almost like when your parents tell you to clean your room and you're like, well, I was going to clean it because I wanted to, but now that you told me to, I don't really want to anymore. Right? So it's like this idea that when humans are told to do something, it kind of makes them not want to do it. Or when something is wrong, humans are compelled to do what is wrong just because they know it is wrong. Not everyone, but there is that tendency. So we can say that the narrator claims that even though he knew his behavior was wrong, he feels like he must do it anyway. What can we infer about why our narrator is doing these things? What do you think is going on with him that is compelling him to change his behaviors and to become violent in this way? What different things can you infer?
This is Nicholas, and earlier in the story, one thing that we mentioned was he was a heavy alcoholic, that he had lots of alcohol in his system, so maybe that's affecting his decisions.
That's great, Nicholas. Do we have any other inferences?
He said that, this is Jody, by the way, and he said that at the very beginning that he was bullied for loving these animals, and because they loved him back, and he felt that he needed to take his anger out on something maybe, and he just did that on the animal, and then realized that they have never done anything wrong, and he felt like he needed to just get it out so he didn't feel guilty anymore.
Thank you, Jody. I appreciate that perspective as well. Does anyone else have a different inference about why our narrator has changed his behavior?
This is Kieran, and towards the end of the paragraph we just read, he talks about how he was irritated. So maybe that had something to do with it.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. So those are all great inferences, and we can essentially put any one of them here. So I'm going to write, I can infer that the narrator is changing his behavior to be more violent. And I'm going to put a few reasons why. This may be due to his alcoholism, or mental illness, resentment towards bullying. That's what Jody mentioned. And then Karen was talking about irritation or anger problems. So there's a lot of things that could be going on with our narrator. He's definitely becoming more violent. He's making this claim that the human heart is compelled to be perverse, to be cruel, to be evil. We know that he's an alcoholic. We can infer that maybe he's struggling with some sort of mental illness because he seems to be rejecting love, right? Anytime that an animal's being affectionate to him or giving him love, he gets irritated, he gets angry. And that could be partially because of the bullying as a child, like Jody said as well. Maybe he doesn't really feel worthy of that love. Those are all inferences that we could be having right now. Are we ready to move on to the end of this paragraph?
Miss Whitehurst,
Yes.
you said that you were gonna post this on YouTube, right? So we can look at it later?
Yes.
Because I don't know what's happening, but my text boxes, they're not going in one place. They're moving over the text, so I don't know how to do this anymore.
Okay, what you can do is you can click on it and move them with an arrow, if that makes sense. Like if you click on it and then you change the size, if that might help. Or if you need to create a new text box, then you just go up to Insert and then Text Box and Draw Text Box. Are any of those things helping?
I don't know what's happening, but like whenever I try to use the arrows, if I pull it one way, then it goes the opposite direction. It's just being really weird.
Okay, maybe you want to switch to using the comment feature instead then.
Okay.
Okay, that might
Thank
be
you.
easier. You're welcome. All right, so we have Vex and Consummate on this side. So I'm going to go up and do Insert, Draw Text Box. Does someone have an inference as to what Vex might mean? We did have that word in the Telltale Heart as well.
I'm gonna guess annoy
Okay,
because
so yeah, why?
so in Latin, vexat means annoy. So I mean, it was just a guess, but
That's a great analysis of what you know about Latin. So vex does mean to annoy or anger. And then consummate means to make complete. or to finalize? So the second half of this paragraph, what is the main thing that happened that he did? What did he do to the cat?
He hangs it.
Yeah. So the narrator admits that he hung the cat, Pluto, because he gives us 3 reasons. The first reason is because the cat loved him. So the first reason is because the cat loved him. For some reason it's not typing on my end. The cat loved him and he feels unworthy of love. Reason number 2 that he says why he hung the cat is because he knew he shouldn't, but due to humanity's perversion, he felt compelled to anyways. Essentially saying even though he knew it was wrong, he still felt like he should do that. And then the third reason that he says why is because in this line, right, all 3 reasons are highlighted with the italicized because I knew that it had loved me, because I felt it had given me no reason of offense, and because in so doing, I was committing a sin that would jeopardize my immortal soul. So that third reason is because what does he mean by he felt as though his soul should be jeopardized when he says committing a deadly sin so that in so doing, so jeopardize my immortal soul, as if to place it, if such a thing were possible, beyond the reach of the most infinite and merciful God? What does he mean? What do you think he means? If you say that your soul is in jeopardy, what do you infer?
This is Sophia, and I think he means that he thinks that he committed a sin that is even too bad for any God to love him. or anyone.
Yeah, so maybe he doesn't think that God will love him because of the sin that he committed, because he killed the cat, because he committed murder to this cat. We could also say that if he feels as though his soul is in jeopardy, he doesn't feel worthy of God's love, and that he also thinks that his soul, for his actions and for his sins, his soul could be in jeopardy of going to hell. That's what he is inferring right here, implying, not inferring, sorry. On the night of the day on which this most cruel deed was done, I was aroused from sleep by the cry of fire. The curtains of my bed were in flames. The whole house was blazing. It was with great difficulty that my wife, a servant, and myself made our escape from the conflagration. The destruction was complete. My entire worldly wealth was swallowed up, and I resigned myself thenceforward to despair. What's happening? I was aroused from sleep by the cry of fire. The curtains of the bed were in flames.
This is Nkosi, and I think his house caught fire, and now everyone's trying to get out.
Yeah. So his house caught fire. This word conflagration, you may have highlighted that. That word is essentially a devastating fire. So we can add that here. So his house is on fire, and the destruction was complete. My entire worldly wealth was swallowed up, and I resigned myself to despair. So we can say his house caught fire, and he feels like giving up. I am above the weakness of seeking to establish a sequence of cause and effect between the disaster and the atrocity. Which thing is he referring to as disaster, and what is he referring to as atrocity?
This is Anjali, and I think the disaster would be the fire, and I guess the atrocity would be like his bad deeds or like him as a person.
Okay, thank you, Anjali. When I read this, I think of disaster could be the fire, or it could be the hanging of the cat, and vice versa. The atrocity could be the fire or the hanging of the cat, right? In that way, he's kind of saying that I'm above seeking and establish a sequence of cause and effect. It's almost like right now he is thinking that because I committed this sin of hanging my cat, this is why my house is on fire. Like he's saying that he feels guilty, and because he did this terrible thing, it's almost like karma that his house is burning down. That's what he's saying here with that sequence of cause and effect. But I am detailing a chain of facts and wish not to leave even a possible link imperfect. On the day succeeding the fire, I visited the ruins. The walls, with one exception, had fallen in. This exception was found in a compartment wall, not very thick, which stood about the middle of the house, and against which had rested the head of my bed. The plastering had here, in great measure, resisted the action of the fire, a fact which I attributed to its having been recently spread. About this wall, a dense crowd were collected, and many persons seemed to be examining a particular portion of it with very minute and eager attention. The words strange, singular, and other similar expressions excited my curiosity. What words did you highlight so far in this paragraph?
This is Destiny, and I highlighted the word atrocity.
Thank you, Destiny. What other words did we highlight? Nothing? Do we know what plaster is?
No.
Isn't it what they use to make walls?
Yes, it is. So plaster is a material used to make walls. And atrocity is a terrible event. So we can say that all of the walls of his house had fallen in except for one. People are staring at the wall. I approached and saw, as if graven in bas relief upon the white surface, the figure of a gigantic cat. The impression was given with an accuracy truly marvelous. There was a rope about the animal's neck. So bas relief is essentially like a carving or sculpture or engraving.
Miss Pickard,
Yes.
could you go back up a little bit for one more second so I can look at the summary one more time?
Yes, thank you for speaking up.
Okay, thank you.
So bas relief is a carving or engraving. And we can say that etched in the wall, there is an image of a rope around an animal's neck. I can infer that the narrator will feel guilty when I first beheld this apparition, for I could scarcely regard it as less. My wonder and my terror were extreme. But at length reflection came to my aid. The cat, I remembered, had been hung in a garden adjacent to the house. Upon the alarm of fire, this garden had been immediately filled by the crowd, by some of whom the animal must have been cut from the tree and thrown through an open window into my chamber. This had probably been done with the view of arousing me from sleep. The falling of other walls had compressed the victim of my cruelty into the substance of the freshly spread plaster, the lime of which, with the flames and the ammonia from the carcass, had then accomplished the portraiture as I saw it. What words did you highlight in that paragraph?
This is Sophia, and I highlighted arouse.
What was your name?
Sophia.
Thank you, Sophia.
This is Destiny, and I highlighted ammonia.
Thank you, Destiny. Hold on, guys. I have somebody knocking on my door. Sorry about that. All right. What other words did you highlight? Did anyone highlight apparition?
Yes.
What do we think apparition means?
This is Elijah, and I think apparition means like a scary image.
Yeah, that's a great inference, Elijah. Thank you. Apparition is like a ghost or ghost spirit like image. Something kind of haunting. Arouse in this context, when it says the view of arousing me from sleep, means evoke or awaken. And then do any of you know what ammonia is?
It's
A sickness.
What was that?
This is Nkosi, and I think that ammonia is like a chemical liquid.
Thank you, Nkosi. So ammonia is a chemical gas, and it's usually used for deep cleaning. Sometimes it's even used on like dead bodies or things like that, but it can be used for industrial strength cleaning and most likely would be found as an ingredient in some of your household cleaning supplies as well. And it has a strong smell. All right, guys, once you have those last notes, you can go ahead and log out for today. The bell is about to ring. Thank you so much for your participation today. We will continue tomorrow. I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.